The colossal ship was dying. A human mechanic resurrected it as the galaxy's ultimate weapon. Part 1: The Dying Giant. The colossal ship drifted in deep space like a dead god. It was called Aegis Prime by the species who found it, though no one knew its true name. It was larger than any fleet ever built. Its hull was scarred and cracked. Long lines of dark metal ran across its surface like veins in stone. No lights shone from its towers. No engines burned at its stern. It moved only because of old momentum, slow and silent. Around it floated the ships of the Coalition. Vessels from many worlds kept a careful distance. Some were sleek and silver. Others were heavy and round, built for war. They all watched the giant with fear and hunger. For 2 centuries, Aegis Prime had been studied from afar. Probes were sent, some returned with data, most were destroyed by hidden defense systems that still worked without warning. More than once a curious ship had drifted too close and vanished in a flash of white light. Now the Coalition believed the ancient vessel was finally dying. Its outer shields no longer flared when scanners touched it. Its weapons had not fired in months. Strange energy readings showed that its core was unstable. Experts said the power source inside was collapsing after thousands of years. If the core failed, the explosion could tear a hole in space itself. That was why the fleet was there. Officially, they were there to prevent disaster. Unofficially, every leader in the Coalition wanted what secrets the ship held. Technology inside Aegis Prime could make one world stronger than all others. On the bridge of the research cruiser Horizon Dawn, Captain Ryan Brooks stood with his hands behind his back. He was tall and calm, his gray uniform clean and sharp. His eyes were fixed on the giant shape outside the viewing screen. Beside him stood Dr. Laura Bennett, the lead xenotechnology expert. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple knot. A datapad rested in her hands. Her eyes moved quickly as she read streams of information. "The energy output dropped another 3%, she said. "At this rate, the core will fail within weeks." Brooks nodded. "And the defense systems? Almost silent. We are seeing only faint automated pings. It is as if the ship is asleep." Brooks did not like the word asleep. Sleeping things could wake up angry. Behind them, a small group of engineers waited near the lift doors. They were not dressed in clean uniforms. Their suits were worn, their boots marked with oil stains. Among them stood Ethan Cole. Ethan was not tall or famous. He was 29 years old and had grown up on a mining colony on Mars. His father fixed drilling machines. His mother repaired cargo transports. Ethan learned to hold a wrench before he learned advanced math. He had never seen anything like Aegis Prime in person. He stared at the screen, jaw tight, eyes wide. The ship looked less like a machine and more like a broken world. Jake Turner, another engineer, leaned close to him. "Hard to believe that thing once moved," Jake said quietly. "Looks like a grave." Ethan shook his head. "It is not dead," he said. Jake raised a brow. "You sure about that?" He just kept staring. Hours later, a shuttle left the Horizon Dawn and moved toward the colossal ship. It carried Dr. Bennett, a security team, and the engineering unit. Captain Brooks watched it go with careful silence. The shuttle approached slowly. No weapons powered up. No bright beams shot from hidden turrets. The ancient hull loomed larger and larger until it filled the viewports. The landing bay they aimed for was a massive opening in the side of the ship. The doors were half open, stuck in place. The metal around them was twisted, as if something long ago had tried to force its way out. The shuttle crossed the threshold. Inside, darkness swallowed them. Only the shuttle's own lights showed the vast space around them. The bay could have held a dozen modern battleships. Old platforms hung from the ceiling. Broken machinery floated in zero gravity. Dust sparkled in the beams of light. They landed gently on the deck. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dr. Oching Bennett stood, helmets on.
We move in pairs. Record everything.
The ramp lowered with a hiss. Boots touched the ancient metal floor. The air inside was thin but breathable. Emergency lights flickered along the walls. They gave off a weak blue glow that made everything look cold and distant. Ethan stepped forward last. His boots made a dull sound on the deck. He looked down and saw faint lines in the metal, not cracks, patterns. He crouched and ran a gloved hand across the floor. Jake sighed.
We just got here. Look at this, Ethan said. Jake knelt beside him.
The lines formed shapes, almost like circuits, but far more complex. It is part of the power grid, Ethan said softly. Dr. Bennett overheard him. Impossible. The main power lines should be deeper inside. Ethan shrugged. Maybe on our ships, not on this one. She studied the markings, then made a note on her pad. They moved deeper into the vessel. The corridors were wide enough to fit ground vehicles. Doors stood open or half melted. Strange symbols covered the walls. Some glowed faintly when the team passed. Security officers scanned every corner. Nothing moved. The deeper they went, the more Ethan felt something strange. It was not fear. It was a sense of pressure, like standing near a massive engine that was barely running. He placed his hand on the wall again. There it was. A faint vibration. Very weak. Very slow. But steady. It is still active, he whispered. Jake frowned. All readings say the core is failing. Failing is not the same as dead, Ethan replied. They reached a large chamber filled with broken consoles. Tall pillars surrounded a circular platform in the center. The ceiling was lost in shadow. Dr. Bennett stepped onto the platform. This was a control hub, she said. A minor one. She signaled to the engineers. Set up diagnostic relays. Ethan opened his tool case. Unlike the advanced alien devices around him, his tools were simple. Magnetic clamps, fiber cables, a handheld scanner with a cracked corner. He connected a line from his scanner directly into an exposed port in the wall. The scanner flickered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, numbers streamed across the screen. Ethan's eyes widened.
What is it? Jake asked. The power flow is uneven, Ethan said.
Sections are shutting down in the wrong order. Dr. Bennett looked over his shoulder. Explain. It is like an old engine, Ethan said. If one cylinder fails, the others try to compensate. But if they fire at the wrong time, the whole thing shakes apart. This is not an engine. It is an alien quantum core. He met her gaze calmly. It still follows rules. Before she could reply, the chamber lights flickered brighter. A low hum filled the air. Security officers raised their weapons. The pillars around the platform began to glow. Lines of energy ran along the floor, following the patterns Ethan had seen near the shuttle bay. It detected us, one guard said.
No, Ethan said quickly.
It detected the connection. The hum grew louder. The vibration in the floor strengthened. On the horizon dawn, alarms rang out. Captain Brooks turned sharply. Report! Massive energy spike inside the ship, an officer shouted. The core is destabilizing. Brooks clenched his jaw. Open channel to the ground team. Back inside the chamber, Dr. Bennett's communicator crackled.
You triggered a surge, Brooks said. We are reading overload levels. Ethan stared at his scanner. The numbers were not chaotic.
They were rhythmic. It is not overloading, he said.
It is trying to balance. The hum shifted in tone. Instead of rising to a scream, it softened into a deep pulse.
Then, slowly, the lights in the chamber stabilized. The energy lines dimmed to a steady glow. Silence returned. On the horizon dawn, the alarm readings dropped. Brooks stared at the data in disbelief. Energy output just increased by 2%, the officer said. Stability is improving. Back on the ancient platform, Dr. Bennett looked at Ethan with new interest.
What did you do?
She asked. Nothing big, he replied. I rerouted a minor line. It was feeding back into itself. She studied the glowing pillars around them. You adjusted alien technology older than recorded history. Ethan gave a small shrug. A wire is still a wire. You just poked a sleeping giant. Ethan looked up at the dark ceiling. No, he said softly. I think we just told it we're here. Far above them, deep within the core of Aegis Prime, ancient systems shifted for the first time in ages. Across the vast hull of the colossal ship, faint lines of light began to glow. The dying giant was not finished yet. After the first signs of life inside Aegis Prime, the team paused to catch their breath. The air smelled of metal and dust, faintly warm, almost alive. Ethan Cole crouched on the platform, still running his scanner over the faintly glowing lines beneath his boots.
This ship is responding, Doctor.
Laura Bennett whispered, her voice barely audible over the low hum of the system. It should be dead. Every reading we've had before this said it was dying. Ethan nodded. It is dying, but slowly. It's like it is waiting for the right touch. Jake Turner leaned against a pillar, arms crossed.
Waiting for the right touch? You mean you?
A human? Ethan didn't answer right away. He traced another line with his gloved hand, and the faint blue light pulsed slightly at his touch. It listens differently than we think, he said finally. Not like a computer. Like an engine. It responds to understanding. Dr. Bennett frowned. We don't know if that's safe. You're touching parts of a ship older than recorded history, powered by systems we barely comprehend. It could collapse or Ethan cut her off. Or it could start working again. And if it doesn't, well, we are already inside a half-dead giant. What's the difference? They watched him move. His confidence was quiet but solid, like a man who had fixed broken machines his whole life and trusted what his hands told him. He began crawling down a narrow maintenance corridor that led deeper into the heart of the ship. Most of the engineers had stayed back. They were not built for this kind of hands-on work. Ethan, small enough to squeeze through the narrow tubes and comfortable in zero gravity, had an advantage. The walls were lined with complex conduits and panels covered in alien symbols. Many were corroded or broken, and sparks occasionally shot out. Ethan ignored them, trusting his instincts. He stopped in front of a tangled junction of wires, ran his scanner along it, and muttered to himself. See, the main core isn't dead. It's misaligned. The energy is leaking into the wrong channels. Misaligned? That doesn't sound simple. Ethan shook his head. It's not broken. It's hurt. If you try to force it, you break it. You have to guide it back.
Gently. Doctor.
Bennett finally floated up beside them. Guide it? How do you guide a starship? It has defense systems, We barely survived the outer shields. Ethan gave a small smile. You don't fight a sleeping engine. You listen. You move with it. He connected his scanner directly to the junction, bypassing alien safety locks and firewalls. On the screen, numbers jumped and shifted. Patterns emerged. The ship's internal systems had their own rhythm, and Ethan could see it. "See that?" he said to the others. "The flow is uneven here, dropping off in the secondary conduits. If I adjust this, the main power matrix will start to sink again." Bennett studied the display, her brow furrowed. That could cause a chain reaction. One wrong move and the core could blow? Ethan said calmly. Maybe. Or it could start moving again. That's the risk. He started reconnecting circuits, aligning wires, and carefully calibrating small nodes. Sparks flew. The hum in the corridor grew louder but steadier. The pillars in the distance began to glow faintly, almost like the heartbeat of a living thing. Jake and Dr. Bennett watched in awe. Even the security officers who had followed them silently shifted uncomfortably, sensing the change around them. Hours passed as Ethan worked. He crawled through tight tubes, adjusted cooling channels, and rerouted energy lines. At one point, a large burst of electricity arced through the air, and Jake shouted, but Ethan did not flinch. His hands moved with precision, guided by instinct rather than knowledge of alien tech. Finally, he stopped and stood upright in the tube. The hum softened. The flickering lights steadied. The temperature inside the ship felt warmer, almost breathable. Bennett let out a long breath. I
don't understand it. The system's stabilized.
You did something impossible. Not impossible, just different. You fix what you can touch. You understand what it wants. You don't force it. The ship seemed to respond to his presence. Small sections of the deck hummed under his boots. Power conduits glowed faintly in blue and green. Even distant corridors, previously silent, now had a faint pulsing vibration. "Do you hear that?" Ethan asked, stopping in a wide corridor. The others listened. A low, steady pulse moved through the metal floor. It was soft but unmistakable. "Like a heartbeat, Doctor." Bennett whispered. "Exactly," Ethan said. "The ship is alive. It just doesn't move like we expect." At that moment, a secondary chamber deep in the hull opened its doors automatically. The team froze. Faint lights spilled out, washing over the walls in soft blue tones.
"This ship is huge," Jake muttered. "I don't think we've even scratched the surface." Ethan smiled faintly.
"No, we're just getting started." They moved as a team toward the open chamber. Inside, the room stretched impossibly far. Central towers of glowing metal rose from the floor, covered in alien symbols and strange conduits. Broken panels floated in zero gravity like leaves in the wind. Ethan floated closer to a tower and laid a hand on a glowing surface. It vibrated gently beneath his palm, almost like the strings of a musical instrument. The ship responded instantly. Energy lines across the walls lit up in sequence, following a rhythm he could feel more than see.
"Do you see that?" he said. "It is reacting to me."
Bennett's eyes widened. It is almost like it recognizes you. Maybe it does. Or maybe it just responds to touch. That's enough. The team set up their portable diagnostic relays, and Ethan began connecting them to the ship's systems. Unlike the advanced alien consoles, which were mostly dead or unreadable, the relays allowed him to measure energy flow and pressure throughout the ship. "This is incredible, Dr. Pei," Bennett said. "If we can stabilize even a fraction of the main matrix, we could have control over the ship, or at least understand it."
We don't control it. We guide it.
That's the difference. The hours passed. The team worked together but left the most delicate tasks to Ethan. He moved like a conductor, aligning energy flows, adjusting nodes, and gently guiding failing systems back to life. Then, deep in the heart of the ship, they reached the main power chamber. The walls were lined with enormous conduits, some damaged, some corroded, and most completely inactive. At the center floated the core, a massive structure of unknown material, glowing faintly with unstable energy. Dr. Bennett gasped. "That is incredible. It looks like it could collapse at any second. It is misaligned. Every ancient system we've seen is out of sync, but nothing is broken. If we can bring it into balance." He paused, placing both hands on the core. The glow pulsed under his touch, softening as if the ship itself understood his intention. "This is it," he whispered. "I can feel the rhythm now." Bennett floated close, watching him. "Do it carefully. One wrong move." Ethan nodded.
I know. He worked slowly, manually adjusting the ancient systems.
He bypassed corrupted interfaces and rerouted energy to stabilize sections of the core. For a long time, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a single line of light shot across the core, followed by another. The hum inside the chamber grew louder, steadier. Sparks of energy ran across the conduits, dancing in perfect rhythm. The ship responded as if waking from a long sleep. Lights across the hull pulsed faintly. Corridors that had been dark for centuries lit up with soft blue light. The vibration under their feet became steady, like a heartbeat. The team watched in awe. Even the security officers were speechless. "It's alive," Jake whispered.
Yes, Ethan said softly. Yes.
"But it is listening. It is not ours.
It is just letting us help it wake up."
Dr. Bennett finally smiled, a small, amazed expression.
You've done what no one else could.
"You understood it." Ethan gave a small shrug. "I just fixed it like I would a broken engine. Nothing more." The team spent the rest of the day moving through the chamber, adjusting secondary systems. They found minor leaks, misaligned conduits, and damaged panels, all of which Ethan repaired in his simple, methodical way. By the time they stopped, Aegis Prime was breathing again. Its glow was steady. Its hum was soft but powerful. The ship was alive, awake, and aware in a way no one had expected. Ethan floated in the center of the chamber, hands resting on a glowing conduit. The ancient vessel pulsed under his touch, a giant breathing machine of metal and energy. He smiled faintly. "Not dead," he whispered. "Not dead at all." Outside, the stars moved silently past the colossal ship. The galaxy had no idea what had just awakened inside. And inside, deep in the heart of the ancient giant, a human mechanic had become something far more than anyone expected. A guide for a sleeping superweapon. After the initial stabilization of Aegis Prime, the team spent several days exploring the inner systems. The corridors, once dark and silent, now pulsed faintly with energy. Even sections that had been completely dead now hummed softly. The ship was waking, and it responded mostly to Ethan. Every time he touched a conduit or realigned a panel, a ripple of light and sound moved through the colossal vessel. Captain Ryan Brooks monitored the progress from the Horizon Dawn. He could not hide his unease. "That ship is alive," he muttered to his first officer, "and we still don't understand what it can do." Dr. Laura Bennett floated near Ethan in the main power chamber. "You've done the impossible," she said. "The ship is responding. Its core is stable. But what happens next?" Ethan ran his hand along a glowing conduit. "Next, we wake it fully. We let it work like it was designed."
What does that mean? Jake Turner asked nervously. Couldn't it destroy us?
"Not if we guide it. We don't control it."
We guide it. It is like
"A great engine. It wants to move. It wants to work. It just needs the right touch." Dr. Bennett studied the readings on her pad.
the outer shields are still offline. Weapons systems are mostly dormant.
Most of the ship is sleeping. But if we wake the main core fully, everything else could come online at once. That includes defenses that may not recognize us as friendly. It will recognize us. Humans think differently. The ship likes that. The next step was simple in theory, but dangerous in practice. Ethan had to reconnect the central nexus to the main control chamber. This chamber was the heart of the ship's power, and it had not been activated for thousands of years. If he made a mistake, the energy feedback could destroy everything in the corridor, including the human team. He began his work, connecting dozens of glowing conduits, adjusting panels, and aligning energy flows. The ship reacted instantly. Lights flickered across the walls, corridors hummed, and the vibrations under their feet became stronger. The hum rose steadily, like a deep, slow drumbeat. Bennett floated beside him. "Ethan, this is incredible. The core is syncing with your adjustments." Ethan nodded. "That's how it talks to me. Every engine has a rhythm."
Every ship has a heartbeat. I just found this one's.
Jake, still uneasy, glanced at the glowing conduits. "I've never seen anything like this, and I hope we don't have to fight it." Ethan smiled faintly. "We're not fighting it. We're waking it. There's a difference. After several hours, the main core stabilized completely. Its glow was steady and bright, and the vibration under their feet became stronger, like the heartbeat of a living world. The secondary systems began to respond as well. Energy flowed through long-dead conduits, power grids hummed with life, and ancient defense systems came online, but only partially. "Ooh, look at..." Dr. Bennett whispered. "It's beautiful." Ethan smiled faintly. "It's not just beautiful. It's powerful. If this were any other person touching it, the ship might reject them. But it likes humans, our way of thinking, our instincts. It syncs." Outside the colossal hull, the first warning came. A distant fleet appeared on long-range sensors. The Vyrix Dominion, a hostile empire that had been watching the Coalition fleet, jumped into real space. Hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace in formation. Their dreadnoughts were massive, their weapons advanced. They had come for the ship. Captain Brooks swore under his breath. They came faster than expected. "Prepare the fleet for combat." Inside the ship, alarms went off faintly, though the noise was minimal compared to the hum of the ship itself. Ethan glanced at Dr. Bennett. "They don't know it's awake yet. The ship hasn't revealed itself." Dr. Bennett nodded. "But if it senses their weapons, it will respond automatically." Ethan ran his hands along a secondary panel, feeling the energy flow. "We need to guide it before the Vyrix attacks. The ship can defend itself, but it won't target them unless I let it. We control the first impression." Jake looked worried. "Control the first impression? You mean we can make it attack?" Ethan shook his head. "We can make it defend. We can show it what humans want. That's all." He began a delicate series of adjustments connecting multiple control nodes to the central core. Lights along the corridors blazed, and the hum became a steady rhythm that resonated through the metal like a living drum. Then, the first Virex ships fired. A small strike team jumped forward, firing energy beams at the colossal hull. For a moment the beams struck, but instead of damaging the ship, they were absorbed into the shields. The outer hull glowed faintly as the energy dispersed. Jake whistled. "It's like they hit a wall of light. It's listening. It knows someone is attacking, but it hasn't decided what to do yet." Another strike hit, heavier this time. A Virex destroyer fired full power into the hull. Aegis Prime's shields flared, absorbing the impact. Then, without warning, a beam of concentrated energy shot from one of the dormant weapons arrays, striking the destroyer and compressing it into a twisted ball of metal. The team stared in shock. Even Dr. Bennett was pale. It just fired on them? Ethan shook his head. "No, it's responding. I guided it." That beam was defensive, focused, calculated. It only hit the ship that fired first. Outside, the Virex fleet faltered. They had never seen a ship of this size, much less a weapon capable of neutralizing their most powerful ships instantly. Captain Brooks's voice came over the comms. "Ethan, can you control it? Can we survive this?" Ethan's eyes were on the glowing control panels. "I can guide it, yes, but I can't make it a weapon yet. That's not what it is. It's a guardian. If we push it, it will defend." Dr. Bennett glanced at him nervously. "You're talking about controlling a superweapon with nothing but intuition?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Not controlling. Guiding. You'll see the difference." He adjusted another series of nodes. The hum of the ship rose, filling the corridors, vibrating the walls, and pulsing outward like a massive heart. Energy lines flashed across the hull, lighting every panel, every weapon array, every shield generator. Aegis Prime was alive. Then Ethan touched a panel near the central core and focused. The ship responded almost immediately. Energy flowed into the main weapon arrays. The defensive shields expanded outward, covering the entire hull. Turrets and laser arrays aligned automatically, but they did not fire. The Virex Dominion fleet hesitated. Their sensors showed the colossal ship activating its systems. Their dreadnoughts began to retreat slightly. They did not understand what they faced. Ethan ran his hands along the final control panel. "Now we show restraint," he said softly. "Defense only. No unnecessary destruction." The ship pulsed. Its energy lines flared, forming a protective bubble around the entire hull. The next attack from the Virex was absorbed completely. The shields redirected energy into defensive systems. Then, a single concentrated gravitational beam shot from the central array. It targeted the lead Virex dreadnought and compressed it into a compact mass of metal and energy. The rest of the fleet stopped in shock, unsure of what to do. Dr. Bennett floated beside Ethan, staring at the readings. It didn't destroy them all. It only stopped the first. It's smart."
Ethan nodded. "It doesn't want to kill unless it has to."
"That's why I guide it. We can show it restraint. We can show it defense." Jake shook his head in disbelief. "I've never seen a ship like this. It's alive. And it listens to you?"
Yes, Ethan said.
"And that is why it chose us." The Virex fleet began to retreat, but the tension in the corridor remained. Ethan floated to the center of the control chamber. He rested a hand on the glowing core. The hum of the ship vibrated through his body, steady, strong, and aware. "The galaxy doesn't know yet," he whispered. "They don't know what just woke up.
Bennett looked at him. And they never will, unless they attack again. Ethan smiled faintly. Then we keep guiding it, step by step, node by node, just like an engine. That's all it wants. Outside, Aegis Prime pulsed with life. Its shields glowed blue, its weapons arrays aligned automatically. Its hum filled the void of space. The galaxy had faced many weapons, but none like this. And none would ever face one controlled by a human mechanic who understood it, guided it, and awakened it. The colossal ship was alive, and the first battle had only just begun. After the first clash with the Vyrix Dominion, the Coalition fleet slowly regrouped. The sight of Aegis Prime alive and active left every captain, scientist, and soldier in awe. Even seasoned admirals could not hide the fear in their eyes. A ship of that size, that power, controlled by a single human, was beyond anything they had ever imagined. Inside the colossal vessel, Ethan Cole moved carefully through the control chambers. The ship responded to him as if it were a living being. Its lights pulsed gently under his hands, the hum of the hull resonating through his body like a heartbeat. The central core glowed steadily, and the defensive arrays were fully operational. The ship was awake, but it waited for his guidance. Dr. Bennett floated beside him, studying the control panels. Ethan, you have done the impossible. But the Vyrix will not give up. They will come back, stronger.
Ethan nodded. I know.
But that is okay. This ship, it listens to humans. We can show it restraint, defense, and only fight when necessary. Jake Turner frowned. You really think the ship will follow your lead? It's alive. It has a mind of its own.
Ethan smiled faintly. It has a mind.
But it trusts humans. And right now, it trusts me. Outside the ship, the stars were filled with distant flashes of enemy warships returning from hyperspace. The Vyrix Dominion had called their full fleet, more than 300 ships in total. They were heavily armed, and they had learned from their first mistake. They had underestimated Aegis Prime. Captain Brooks watched the sensors on the horizon dawn. His hands tightened on the console. Ethan, he said over the comms, the fleet is coming. Do you think, can we survive this? Inside Aegis Prime, Ethan studied the energy flows. We can, he said quietly, but we have to do it carefully. The ship will protect itself. I just guide it. Bennett looked at him nervously. Guide it? You mean we can control its weapons? Ethan shook his head. Not control, guide. Not. It will choose the targets itself. But we show it who is a threat and who is not. As the first Vyrix dreadnought entered firing range, Aegis Prime shields expanded. They pulsed outward in concentric waves of blue light. When the enemy fired, the beams struck the shields and dispersed harmlessly into space. The ship's hum rose in response, steady and powerful. Look at that, Jake whispered. It's like a moving wall of energy. Ethan's hands moved across the control panels. He adjusted conduits and nodes, synchronizing the ship's defensive systems. Then the first weapon fired, a concentrated gravitational beam that hit the lead Vyrix dreadnought directly. The enormous enemy ship collapsed in on itself, compressed into a dense sphere of metal. The other Vyrix vessels stopped, unsure what had happened. Dr. Bennett floated close. It didn't destroy them all, it only hit the first. It's smart. It is not trying to kill unless it must. That is why I guide it. We show it defense, not destruction. Outside, the Vyrix fleet hesitated. The dreadnoughts at the front reeled from the attack.
They had expected an easy victory, but the colossal ship had already shown its power. Every weapon array aligned automatically, shields expanded, and energy flowed perfectly through the hull. Aegis Prime was alive, aware, and more powerful than anything in known space. Captain Brooks's voice came over the comms again. "Ethan, the fleet is hesitant."
What do you want us to do?
Ethan considered the sensors. "Hold formation. Keep them away from civilian colonies. We don't attack unless necessary. Let the ship defend itself first. Show them restraint." The next wave of attacks came. Smaller Vyrix ships tried to flank Aegis Prime. Their energy weapons struck the shields, but the ship's hum grew louder, pulsing through the metal like a living drumbeat. The shields expanded and absorbed the energy. The smaller ships were forced back without a scratch. Jake stared at the readings. "I've never seen anything like this. It's alive."
And it's listening to you. Yes? Ethan said softly.
"And that is why it chose humans." Dr. Bennett's voice was quiet but firm. "Ethan, if we push it too far, the ship could become a weapon of destruction."
Not a defender?
Ethan shook his head.
"It will not. I guide it. That is all it needs. Humans guide it."
We show it who is a threat and who is not. It listens.
As the battle continued, the Vyrix fleet realized the danger. Their lead ships were destroyed or disabled by focused beams of energy. The smaller vessels could not break the shields. The colossal ship moved slowly, but every motion was precise, defensive, and calculated. Captain Brooks looked at the data. "Ethan, you're not just keeping the ship alive. You're controlling its actions." Ethan smiled faintly. "Not controlling, guiding. Big difference." The Vyrix fleet began to retreat. They had never faced a single ship capable of matching their combined firepower. Hundreds of ships fell or retreated. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Inside Aegis Prime, Ethan let the energy settle. The hum softened, the shields dimmed slightly, and the weapons arrays rested in standby mode. The ship's systems were fully awake, but calm. It had followed his guidance perfectly. Dr. Bennett floated beside him. "You did it. You guided it through the battle. It did the fighting. I just showed it the way." Jake shook his head in disbelief. "A human mechanic guiding the most powerful ship in the galaxy. I can't believe it." "Believe it. We just made sure it listens the right way. Not for war. Not for conquest. For defense." Captain Brooks's voice came over the comms again. "Ethan, the fleet has reported that the Vyrix are retreating." "You..." Ethan floated in the center of the control chamber. His hands rested on the glowing core. The ship vibrated gently beneath him, steady and strong, like a living thing. "The galaxy doesn't know what just happened," he whispered. "They don't know what they faced." Dr. Bennett looked at him. "And they never will, unless they attack again." Ethan smiled. "Then we keep guiding it, step by step, node by node. Just like an engine. That's all it wants." Outside, Aegis Prime pulsed with life. Its shields glowed blue. Its weapons arrays aligned automatically. Its hum filled the void of space. The ship was alive. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. For the next several weeks, the Coalition and Ethan worked together. He guided Aegis Prime through test maneuvers, slowly awakening systems that had been dormant for thousands of years. Its defensive arrays expanded, navigation systems reactivated, and energy grids synchronized. Every time he adjusted a node or touched a conduit, the ship responded instantly. The galaxy watched from a distance, Rumors spread about the colossal ship that could destroy fleets with a single beam, yet had not done so. Politicians debated, admirals feared. Scientists studied, but none could touch it. None could guide it the way Ethan did. Finally, Ethan and the team completed their work. Aegis Prime was fully awake, stable, and responsive. Its defensive systems were unmatched. Its energy arrays could strike with unimaginable force. Yet under Ethan's guidance, they only targeted true threats. The Virex Dominion dared not return. Entire sectors of space were under the watchful pulse of the awakened ship. The galaxy had found a guardian, a weapon of ultimate defense, but not conquest. Captain Brooks finally spoke in relief. Ethan, the ship, it listens. You've done what no one else could. Ethan looked at the glowing core. It isn't me. It's the ship. I just understand it. Dr. Bennett nodded. But without you, it would have been nothing. You gave it life again. Jake floated nearby, smiling. And it listens to a human mechanic. Who would have thought? The hum of the ship filled the chamber, steady and strong. The colossal vessel had been dying. A human mechanic had resurrected it, and the galaxy would never be the same. For years to come, stories would be told about Ethan Cole, the man who guided the ultimate weapon without ever using it to conquer. The colossal ship would patrol the edges of known space, a silent guardian, a warning, and a symbol of human ingenuity. In the quiet of the command chamber, Ethan smiled faintly. The ship pulsed gently beneath him, alive, aware, and forever linked to the touch of a single human. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Not dead. Never dead again." The galaxy would remember the awakening, and humanity would be at the center of its future.